Hi, it's Angela Tourville and Mike Tourville, your hosts of Get Moving, the real estate roadmap with the at-home team, where we're going to provide you with the education, tools, and unfiltered talk to keep you in the driver's seat. Thanks for joining.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us at Get Moving, our second podcast, but our first one with a guest. And I'm Mike Tourville, your co-host, along with Angela Tourville, co-host and co-author of Get Moving. And our first guest is Danielle Arsenault, an old friend, a colleague with NEXT Home Elite Realty. With over 8 years experience in the realty business, 8 full-time, go at it, full force years, right?
Yep.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Congratulations. You're the very first guest. So nice to have you here. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, your experience, what buyers could learn from you, the things you see that can help people. But I think to get into it, get a little bit into your experience and what you're doing. And of course, we'll talk about your experience too and how that all wedges in together, right? So you've been in business for 8 years, right? Mm-hmm. Did you have a career prior to that?
Yeah, I've been in sales, retail management most of my adult life, and then I decided to transition into real estate. Anything
inspired you to do that?
I always kind of just felt like it was a calling. I wanted to do it a long time ago, but it's a big bridge to gap to go from working from someone. Basically every day I wake up unemployed, essentially, because I work for commission.
So you have to earn it every day.
Every day. So, going from a guaranteed paycheck to something like that where the sky is the limit, you can work as hard as you want, but it's all on you.
And when you're in retail, there's a big difference, obviously. You have a structure, you have a boss. Who's your boss now?
Me.
I thought you were going to say every one of my clients is my boss.
Well, that is also factual, but we try and be partners, not bosses.
Right. But I guess the point of that is too, you're waking up because you're the one who's driving this.
Yes.
You're the one who says you have to have your own discipline.
Yes.
And a lot of realtors, that's why I said earlier, you're full-time, full force, fully committed. A lot of realtors are not.
Right.
A lot of them are part-time, and that's fine.
Right.
But I know that you're into this, fully committed, and we've seen it with your work over the years, especially working with Angela. Yeah. You guys kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. We're kind of a well-oiled team.
Yeah, you are.
Kind of. We like to think so.
Yeah. And do you have any kind of you work in Western Mass, right?
Western Mass, Connecticut. Well, all of Mass. I mean, I've gone out to as far as the Worcester area.
Okay.
And then Connecticut as well.
So you know the area. You're Western Mass native?
I am. Yeah. Born and bred, grew up in East Hampton.
Yeah.
Live in Holyoke now.
So you know it pretty well.
Yeah.
Any special type of buyers you work with, or do you do listings and?
I do buyers and sellers.
Okay.
I love everything from the first-time home buyer, and then when they call me after they've got 2 kids later and they want to move up, those are the fun parts of the job. And then there's the people that call you after death or divorce, and it's a sad part of life, but that is part of real estate. So then I'm grateful to be able to help them, help with the next step, because sometimes that's heavy and hard.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heaviness and a lot of hardness to the job, because if every single person you spoke with ended up in the house that they wanted all the time, well, that'd be fantasy land, wouldn't it?
I try and tell everyone that when it's meant to be, it will happen. And Angela and I have one of the best examples of that. We had these people, I had to let them down time and time and time again. I didn't think I could call them anymore and tell them they didn't get the house.
You think they'd be tired of it by now, right? Frustrated?
They were.
Yeah.
They were devastated. I was devastated. They're good friends. I mean, it was horrible.
Yep.
And then just literally one day, all the stars aligned. Being full-time, being in the know, someone was ready to list, but they weren't quite ready to go to market. We were able to get the house for them that day. And it turned out to be the most dream house they could ever imagine. When I called to tell them, they're like, you said that when it was right, it would happen. and this is better than any house we ever could have dreamed or looked at.
You know,
That still gives me goosebumps.
Yeah,
The
because
story.
they looked at some crazy houses.
And
they looked at guts.
And in between,
You know?
they had sold a condo and were living with family. Family they love and adore. But you know how it is when you shove family together in a small, it's hard.
And a new baby.
And right. And so they were patient and they waited for the right house. It was a long wait. A long wait.
You know what, though? They trusted you. They trusted me. They understood, you know, what their limitations were. And we were able to advocate for them, give them tools, you know. And then, being full-time, having an amazing network, because you do, Danielle. You're right. All the stars aligned. And they had faith in their team, though, and they trusted us. And that's what got them there. I mean, if they didn't, I think
there's
they
a
would
lot
be
of
in the basement still.
behind-the-scenes stuff with real estate that it's hard to share with your clients. You know, how do you tell them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Protective. You have to be, because you can't.
You know, it's not just opening the shiny door and handing them the keys 30 to 45 days later. There's a lot of in between
That'd
stuff.
be fantasy land. But
Yeah.
but you know, there's a story behind this too. When you think about the barriers that people have to overcome, whether it's credit, income, assets, challenge of getting down payment, or life changes, or credit
And I'd love
history.
to talk about credit for a second because, you know,
yeah.
one challenge that I tend to run in with to talking to is, and I get it, because credit is made to be shameful, right? And a lot of times people have bad credit through no fault of their own. It's just the way the system is stacked against us.
Yeah.
And then they try and fix it on their own. But I try and say to them, like, you really want to fill out the application with the lender, because what they might need fixed isn't necessarily going to be the way you're going to fix it. And it may create more of a problem when you do go. So your score goes up, but there's still something there that you didn't need to fix that you did, or vice versa. So I highly encourage people when it comes to credit, just really trust in the professionals. They're not there to judge you. They're truly there to help you get into the home as quick as possible.
And you're right, because there's so much besides. And one of the things that people will do, just one common thing, when they have a credit line and they have credit cards or different accounts, and they think, oh, if I close this one, that'll make me better positioned. But yet somehow their score may drop.
Right, because now they don't have the credit history.
And they had the counter effect. They had the opposite intended effect, and you go, oh no, now what? So you're right. Take the guidance. In fact, we wrote a shameful plug here in the book Get Moving, authored by Angela and myself. Is one of the chapters is about credit, and we dive into all those things. What constitutes the score? What are the components that give you a level of approvability, right? And how can you correct that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it. I'm glad you said that, because that is first thing. We look at three things in lending: credit, income, and assets. And I always say start with credit.
Yeah.
Because if you have all the income and assets in the world, but your credit is below, it doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up.
Credit's also what opens up the doors for down payment assistance, right? So you have a lot of people who are they're afraid to have the conversation, and I experience where they'll tell you they have an 800 credit score, and you go, wow, that's great, and then I look at it and it's a 500 credit score, and I see now they have what they've done there, and we handle them appropriately. But
I have learned to ask when someone says that to me if it's a Credit Karma score, just because most people don't realize Credit Karma is an algorithm. It actually isn't a credit, so they don't know.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's a legit app, and they're like, this is great. That happened to you too?
Yeah, it happens often.
Yeah.
And in another case too, let's say we had a borrower who had great income, great assets, and she said her credit was perfect because she doesn't have the debts, she doesn't have all the credit card debts, she doesn't have any of those things. And I said, oh, you're as positioned as good as anybody. We pulled her credit and it was low. And she couldn't understand why it was low. The reason it was low is because she did not have credit established. And we had to come up with alternative credit, like how do you pay your rent? How do you pay your utilities? And she says, I can't believe my credit's low.
But you know what the beautiful thing is? They do call the lender.
Yes.
Angela and I had a case where it was a tough one. They had like a year's worth of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she laid out a plan. They followed the plan.
Yeah.
And when the year was up, they were ready to buy.
Mm-hmm.
We got them into a house.
Yeah.
But if they had not called, would it have been a year? Would they have been fixing it in the right way? Who knows? But, she was able to give them a detailed plan to follow on how to save, what to save. It wasn't just fixing credit. It was building a down payment.
I was just going to say, I know exactly who you're talking
Yes.
about. They were veterans,
Yep.
police officer, actually, a new family. And not only, and it was his credit, not hers.
Yep.
That happens.
Yep.
And also, yes, it's always I'm not a credit counselor, right? But I analyze credit.
Right.
So if I know how to get people those results. And if it's at a higher level, I have a network,
Right.
And we can get them a little bit more help, a little more hand holding outside of what I'm able to do. But there's always, no matter what, I always say when we're working on our credit, time is on our side now. So let's use it wisely. And so they're getting a budget strategy.
Yeah.
And the budget strategy is to help them feel that new mortgage payment, because usually they're going to have,
And
an
this I
increase.
love. This is a great thing.
Yep. So so we double dip. Because mindset is everything, right? The psychology behind how we live.
Tell you
You want my secret sauce?
I do.
Okay, I'll do it.
gonna
For
write
the
down this
listeners.
recipe. Yeah.
So if let's say you're paying $1,500 a month for your rent, and your mortgage potentially is going to be around $2,000. What we're going to do is pay the mortgage now. So we're going to establish a budget, which you have to look at every month.
So you mean when I move in, I'm going to already know how to live on my mortgage?
You're going to feel the impact of the mortgage before you have the mortgage. And so this is where you're going to adjust life. And I have this.
And I'm going to have a savings, won't I?
So we're going to take
Hopefully,
the
yeah.
gap of rent to mortgage payment, and we're going to take those funds. And I always recommend a high yield savings because it's not mingled with the rest of your money. It's completely isolated, and it actually takes 3 days to transfer money from a high yield to your debit card account. So your TJ Maxx urge, who cares? You got to wait 3 days, it's gone, right? And what happens is we find people have the money. They can afford it. What they're doing is Starbucks, DoorDash, takeout. I mean, literally, that's draining bank accounts. And so, now we know we have to let go of the monster that we get at Cumbies in the morning, and maybe we have to make our own coffee. But then all of a sudden, that lifestyle changed a little. They have a little nest egg. We've built their credit 6 to 12 months, let's say. And now I'm finding them their down payment, and they bought a new house with assistance, and they still have a savings account, and their lifestyle's adjusted. So it's this cool, full circle thing that I've done myself personally, and that's why I preach it to people.
I mean, people got to call.
Well, when
You
they
got-
call,
yeah, it's more than
speaking
a
of
loan.
that, and I think about this, we prefer that they call us first so we can get them qualified before they shop. So they're not going to waste your time. Ideally, because we can give the green light, right? We can say, okay, go shop with confidence. But if someone calls you first, if somebody calls you and says, hi, Danielle, I heard you're the best realtor ever. Help me find a house. Let's go shopping. What's the first thing you say to them?
So I asked if they have a specific property that they're calling about or if it's just they're just starting.
Okay.
Because it's two different situations. So if
Yeah.
you're really, really in love with the property,
Mm-hmm.
let's go look at it. We're not going to go look at 10 because it's going to break your heart. But if you're really in love with the property, we're going to go look at it. And then let's sit down and have a coffee for half an hour, and have a buyer consult. And I can explain. I have a whole packet of how to start and how it will end. Like everything that happens during the buying process. It's because people don't do it often. So they don't really know the steps.
Yep.
So we'll sit down and talk about it. I'll help with their goals. I'll ask some qualifying questions when they call before we go to see the house to see, because nobody wants to be just upset. Do they have a job? Do
Get
they have
disappointed.
some
They have a
savings?
job.
Yeah.
Do they have an idea of their credit score? Have they been at their job for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Some qualifying questions. And then we'll, go look at the house. But if they're just starting, I start with the buyer consult. Let's answer the questions. Let's get on the same page. Let me help get you to a qualified mortgage lender. I work with a team of professionals. So if you have questions in other areas, let me know. I'll connect you with people there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go out searching. Most people like to carve out the time for the half an hour buyer consult. It lowers anxiety during the transaction because then they kind of know the steps. Like I tell you the steps again as we go, but in the beginning it helps.
Well, certainly they can shop with more confidence.
Yeah.
Without the uncertainty.
I've done it in a house also we want, you want to go 3123 Main Street? I've only got a half an hour, Danielle. Okay. We're going to do this on the fly. Not ideal, but you got to make it work for every buyer.
And you also don't want to miss opportunities, so timing sometimes
Right.
has to be
Right.
is a
Yeah, and I
factor.
mean, I think having a clear view to the end zone all at once is fine, but it's anxiety ridden, right? So you lay it out, they can see the the end of the tunnel. But then as we move forward, They're going to have another consult with me, right? And a little bit of a different angle. And then we're going to, I like to give 2 steps ahead. As we run through the transaction, here's the next 2 steps.
Yep.
Here's the next 2 steps. But they've already seen the end. Yep. So it just, again, what are we trying to curve? Anxiety, right? I mean, it does. And we want celebration.
Everyone works differently, right? Like,
Yeah.
So, you know, some people are like, the last thing I want to do is sit down with you for a half an hour, Danielle. Let's just go. And that's okay, too.
Yep.
Educate along the way.
And setting realistic expectations, I think, is really important because, you know, here's what could happen, right? And in the end, you go over these bumps, whether they're qualifying barriers or house because there's multiple offers. Here's what you may be outbid. Any of these things could happen. And I always like it when somebody said, yeah, you told us this might happen. So, okay,
Here we are,
and it's happened. So thanks for telling me. Thanks for setting that expectation rather than being disappointed. But you're right. You have to make that groundwork happen. But going back to the obvious here, how important is it when you're showing someone a house and they want to put an offer in? How important is it that they've actually have a pre-approval letter?
In order to really shop for a house and be out there, and it's not even about wasting someone's time or not, you need the pre-approval because even if you really think you're 100% able to get a loan, like this lady that had no credit, do you want to fall in love with the house only to find out that you literally just wasted your time going to see it?
Yeah.
Or would you rather know up front? And the other thing is most people that I talk to don't completely have any idea how much they'd be pre-approved for or where they fall in. Not most people, but a good portion because they don't really know what the mortgage is. So they're like, I want a $400,000 house, Danielle, until they get the mortgage payment. Then they're like, I definitely don't want a $400,000 house, Danielle. So, but if you go look at the $400,000 house first, and then you find out you only want to spend $300,000, what are you chasing that whole time?
Yep.
The $400,000 house.
Right.
Suddenly
It's
nothing
in your
$300,000.
head.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the reasons. There's reasons why I want people to get pre-approved before we go looking, because it just is better for everyone.
And you know, with that too, if let's say they say no, we don't want to settle for $300,000. We want to go for the $400,000, and now we're just like okay, then here's what we need to do to prepare. What we need for income, what we need to fix credit-wise, whichever.
Helps
they have
us
time
lay the
to
groundwork and help them, you know.
We'll get you there, but it just may take 6 months or a year.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with people for almost 3 years before they found a house because they wanted a specific town, a specific location, and a specific house. They were okay with waiting. We didn't go every day of every week. We went when the house popped up, and, you know, so there's no rush to the finish line. It's just however the goal works for the client.
And, you know, just to raise a red flag, I think if you are, as a consumer, working with someone and you feel pushed or rushed, put your antlers up. It's not probably about you in that transaction, right? So just a key point, you know, on their time, what they want. You're advocating,
I try to be flexible and offer guidance and, like, in my professional knowledge of why you would or wouldn't want to shop without a pre-approval, you know.
Yeah, well, also too, let's just, you know, getting a pre-approval is not 2 buttons that are getting pressed from a lender. If they're a pre-approval is verified information, right? And pre-approvals are what people want to see. Obviously, we can take it a little step further, but you know, you can't expect a loan officer to do their job properly when they have to analyze your taxes, your income, you know, over the last 2 years, 2 months of assets. Like, there's a lot that we have to look at to make sure we're properly giving you that pre-approval so you can get to the finish line. And so if you find the house, you fall in love with it, there's 3 other offers on the table. Now you're on defense, you're backtracking, trying to get someone on a Saturday to talk to you, get an application in and do all those things. I mean, come on. Why?
And, you know, I wish it would be nice if every application was, okay, give us your W-2s.
Yeah.
Boom, and it's all perfect. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But, you know, what happens is nothing is ever easy because you have maybe take a married couple and you say one of them is a W-2, but they also have a part-time job, but it's seasonal. So you got the ups and downs of it. But then the wife runs a hairdressing or a massage place, and that is self-employment. So you have to look at the taxes for that and then factor in, okay, now we have the W-2, but we have to see how this all these moving parts fit in.
Right.
And it's never smooth because income isn't always consistent. It may be seasonal. There may be an electrician that gets laid off from the union every 6 months or whatever. So you always putting puzzle pieces together, right?
Yeah.
And you wish it was easy.
It's a puzzle.
And then you're right with credit barriers or income. And by the way, income, I don't have enough for 20%. Well, there's obviously lots of programs where you can put far less than 20%. Sure, you might have PMI in that, but there's all kinds of programs they might not be aware of for down payment assistance or low down payment programs. But anyway, your job is to work through those barriers. Your job, all right, is to guide them through and make sure they're getting the resources from the lender. And we talked earlier about you had a prior career in sales, retail management and sales. That was sales because you're selling somebody a sweater that they can
they can take out and
take it out.
how's
Looks
it
so
feel?
good in.
Yeah.
And then they say, I didn't like it after all, and they can return it. Do you feel the same way about selling houses?
No, I don't really feel. No, I don't though. It's funny.
not
you say
even
that.
sales, right?
It's really, it's not. It's customer service. It's
yeah.
client. It's client guidance. It's not. Someone's not coming to me because they want me to help them decide or not to buy a house. They've already made the decision that they would like to find a place to live. So technically, yes, they bought and sold a house, but I mean, it's something that is much more building a network with them and a connection with them and a trust level with them so that they can. It's the biggest purchase they're ever going to buy in their life.
Yeah, and I think that it's almost like you're guiding them through an experience.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
It is
rather
an
than
experience.
just selling a house. It's
Right.
an experience
No,
because
it's-
there's so much more to it than
Right.
just trading money for a house.
Right. There's so many more steps, and it's a process, right? So I always say, like, I'm not gone when the transaction ends. I'm like a resource. So after the transaction ends, I have connections with electricians and plumbers, just like Angela, roofers, all of these people, so that like we want our clients to be able to feel free to call us after the transaction to help connect them to people that either we know and trust or that we can get to answer the phone maybe quicker because they know us, to help them with problems that they may not know who to call, and then they get they go to Craigslist and get someone that screws up their house.
Yeah.
Do you mostly work with first time buyers or a mix of repeat buyers?
I work with a lot of mostly, not want to say mostly sellers, but sellers, buyers, first time buyers, move up buyers. I mean, I do them all. I really do them all. In the beginning of my career, it was almost all first time buyers. The longer you're in your career, your first time buyers become move up buyers. Your move up buyers, become referral clients.
Yep.
So,
But only if you're doing one thing with them, Danielle, and it's building a relationship, right? They're not going to be repeat clients if you do not build a relationship, if you're not advocating for them properly.
Very
so
true.
not everyone's career goes in that direction.
And the word that comes up a lot when you're building a relationship is trust.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to trust, and know that you guided them through the right way. They trust you now. They said, she'll get me through it the next time. And there's a big difference between a first-time buyer who may be renting and saying, okay, I'm going to give my notice to my landlord in 30 days and I'll be prepared. But there's a difference in coordination and strategy when you're selling a house at the same time and coordinating that timing. Right?
There's definitely an added level of stress and moving parts when you're buying and selling.
Couple
There's
things going on.
no denying that, know. But again, with a team of professionals that have been through it multiple times, whether personally or professionally, we learn a few tips and tricks along the way that can streamline the process, make it easier, help it not be so stressful.
And there are a few programs, and not to do a plug, but it's worth mentioning because you're right. That is something you have to coordinate and make sure your sale coordinates with your purchase and the timing and everything has to fit in. But there are programs, buy now, sell later, or cash offers, and an ability to buy a home and sell your house after. We don't get into the details of that, but if anybody listening wants to know more about it, get in touch with Danielle or Angela.
It's an amazing program. It gives you what? Several months.
Six months to sell your house after you buy. And you say, well, how do I do that? Well, again, we could spend a half hour talking about
that would be a consultation call.
But it is worth mentioning since you're talking about that coordination.
Yeah.
I think
because
it's,
that is one of the biggest fears I hear from my people that want to become sellers, but need to buy. Is it's just easier to stay here because where am I going to go? And we can put subject to seller finding suitable housing. We can do all that, but it's still the same day move. Some people it's just too much. So being able to have the ability to buy now, sell later, removes, for the right person, a lot of stress. A lot of stress.
And if somebody wants to get in touch with you to find out more about that, we never did give out your phone number, did we?
I don't believe we did.
Why don't you do it now? We'll do it at the end again, which we're getting towards. But what is your phone? How do people reach you?
413-210-9714.
210-9714.
Yes, sir.
413 in front of it. Okay. So that's really important because you're right. It can remove a lot of stress. You can really get people past the barrier because it's a tough thing. It's tough to coordinate all that stuff. You've worked in eight full years. It probably seems like more because you're packing a lot in to your week, to your day. You wake up and you think, okay, I gotta. You're consumed by this, and all those transactions, all those experiences that you've had with people. Are there any that stand out that just make you feel like, well, that was the most memorable?
I have a lot of memorable ones, but this is the little sappy, and it was actually
sappier the better with
that.
Yeah,
I think you had the buyer. I had the seller on this, but they were selling because there was someone in there that was riddled with addiction, and it was just bringing the mom down, the house down, and saw a picture of her beautifully, happily, over a year sober, moving into her own apartment tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I mean, the move was to kind of help her, push her to not be enabled anymore, and now she's living a beautiful, healthy life. I don't think that was the story you're looking for, but it was just
that's a good story.
It's in my head.
Those are the kind that make you feel like you helped guide them through that, and that's nice. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You sold her house, and a year later,
yeah,
you're still in touch, still helping and getting her transitioned.
Well, I'm not helping her find a place to live.
But you're probably still someone she leans on a little bit. Yeah. So
those are
beautiful. It's beautiful. Like the connections and the people we meet.
Like seeing someone healthy after not, it's just like warms your heart. You know what I mean? 'Cause,
that sort of thing, I think, keeps you going more so than the compensation, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It really is the connections I make with people. You know what I mean?
And one thing I'll say I respect about what you're doing, what you said earlier, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. You just said it. I work with some people, and it took us time. It took us 3 years. And we finally found out that I worked with them over and over. 3 years. You spent 3 years of time with them and didn't get paid.
No.
But
you're spending money to hang out with them, right?
But in the end, and it may or may not have happened, and you might have just spent 3 years of time with many people, and may never happen. But in the end, you still feel good. You still wake up and say, I'm going to do this again.
Yep.
Over and over.
Over and over.
Because the reward, not just for you, but when you can reward a family with that experience, and it really can make you almost come to tears when you think about these stories and how they might have overcome barriers, gone through years of preparing, waiting, saving, fixing credit, all those things you need to do, and you helped guide them. Both of you helped guide them, and then you say, "Well, I don't even care if I get paid or not." That was just the best thing ever. Yeah, I know.
I say I'm lucky enough to get paid to do this. That's literally what it feels like.
And I know it sounds corny, but it actually
true.
is true.
It really is true.
It really is.
Well, I mean, no one handed me anything in life, right? I know not you either, right? And so we had to learn a lot. And not everyone, lots of people don't have the resources within their circles to help guide them, let alone trust them to even talk about these things, right? Their dream of buying, whatever it is. So that's where, the team becomes their allies and their resources, privately, confidently, and that's just so fulfilling in a million ways personally.
Yeah, and I think you two make a great team. You have a big network besides number one lender here. You have attorneys, you work with inspectors, all kinds of people in this. So when somebody comes to you and says, Danielle, could you help us buy a house? You're saying, yeah. And you're not working in isolation, right?
Right.
You're working with this team of experts, people with many, many years of experience. So they have great support behind what you do. And I know that's true because you got the same type of thing. And I think if somebody wants to just have a conversation, you're open to that. So
I'm always here for a conversation. I always say, what's a cup of coffee? Let's hang out,
Yeah.
And it may change your life.
Yeah.
Because homeownership is really building equity. It's building a retirement. It's building a savings. It's building stuff for you. It's a forced savings account.
It is, yes. And sure, you're paying for it every month, and it's a responsibility.
But
of
you're paying
course.
someone's landlord. You're paying someone's rent
right.
already, mortgage already.
Right.
Just yours or your landlord. It's just who's is it?
And and it's a simple thing. I remember when I bought my house. It's 22 years ago now, or so, something like that, right? And time flies. And I bought the house. Anyway, there's another story behind that. But I remember one of my neighbors said, "I can't believe you paid that for the house. You overpaid, buddy. You overpaid. That was crazy." And I thought, well, geez, that's your opinion. Anyway, later on, it wasn't a year later, he says, "Boy, that's you got lucky on that house." But as time goes by, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I think that the equity, and you're right, it's a forced savings account. You get the equity built up. You are able to build in that equity, and it helps you when you're moving up, moving on, retiring, whatever it is. It is an asset.
It is an asset.
That inevitably, sure, you have dips. Of course you have, but over time, it is a forced saving. You're not ever going to get that when you rent. That's all right. Doesn't matter with the timing because we're just talking.
Okay.
We can,
We get to keep talking.
Timer means nothing to me. Anyway.
So to get back to the book, right? You can actually, if you don't remember Danielle's phone number by now, there's
Is this it?
If you
That is it.
Yeah. If you go into the book, you can absolutely find her with a quick scan of a code.
Yeah. And I'm going to just say something real quick because in the book Get Moving, which is just 2 months, it has everything we talk about, a lot of things. But if somebody wants to get going, and Danielle, you contributed, which is a wonderful article, and I love what it's titled, "Where Do I Begin?" And that's just really, that's the whole thing. Where do I begin? And so you wrote up a wonderful section there. And I think that's what a lot of people say, where do I begin? Call Danielle. That's where to begin.
I like it. Call me.
413-210-9714 for Danielle Arsenault with Next Home Elite Realty. I think we covered a lot here.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle,
Thank you
much
for having me.
Thanks. We'll have you again.
Oh, why, thank you.
All right. You're going to go out and sell in the 2-degree weather today?
Hey, you want to see a house? Let's go. No
She's
better
ready.
time to buy than now.
Not today.
Hey, your
Phone lines are open.
We'll get you in the pool will be ready by the time it's spring.
Can we do the polar plunge? Maybe we could do that too.
No.
You can. We'll watch.
No. All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you real soon. Okay.